Yeah, get it on. Welcome back to Fast You Full. What about fit there? Tell Nutrition by Max Capital Cycles. All right, let me tell you what went down on the weekend, which is the Wellington Centre Cycling Champs held in the Wairarapa, hosted by the Kapiti Cycling Club. I did both days, namely the time trial on Saturday, the road race on Sunday, the time trial day, 25 kilometre time trial on a flat rolling course at Gahutra. The road race held on the awesome undulating rolling circuit, Gladstone, Martinborough. One race, I'll show you some, what am I going to show you? I'll show you how I got the fastest time in the time trial. I'll show you a couple of Aero tweaks. There's something that came out of the data that I was looking at for some riders that I think might help you and give you a little bit of an idea about little tweak you can make to speed up your time trials a little bit. And it's not much, and it's easy, everyone can do. It's not something you have to buy, it's something you do. I'll show you that. I won't really talk much about the road race because nothing much happened. So it must be time trial based. What else am I going to talk about? Got my little notes here. I will. Oh yeah. I will talk about equipment thing as well. I noticed, which I used an unusual piece of equipment in the road race, and it really helped me save a lot of energy. So, without further ado, let's have a look here. If you're looking at the screen, this is riders from the Wellington Masters Cycling Club contingent warming up at Kahutra School for the time trial. Tyce Robinson, Pete Mora, me, Angus Taylor. Looking on form in the club gear, and all of us did pretty good. This is what I'm talking about here. Let's go in to look at data from Centre Champs time trial. I made some notes. It was perfect conditions, so it was a really good day to determine pretty accurately your drag. I figured my drag for the day. This is interesting thing. Centre Champs, National Champs, bikes are checked for UCI compliance. As I've mentioned before, that means that your bike has to fit numerous dimensional rules set by the UCI, United Cycling Federation, whatever it is, International, various measurements, and they do have a little jig or a drawing at the event to check your bike. My bike fitted just fine. I figured it out and made the changes. See my previous video or look online for those details if you need to check your bike ahead of Nationals in 2 weeks' time. But the difference between, it's been good because the couple of the time trials held this year have been in excellent conditions, meaning drag coefficients reasonably accurate to determine without the influence of wind, making the calculations harder. And I figured that the biggest change on my bike in the time trial was having the tips of the bars extensions having to be lower, namely 10 centimeters vertically from the lowest point of the elbow pad, and everything else on the bike's pretty much the same. The difference that cost me is a drag of about 0.235 in the bar high non-legal position versus about 0.24, maybe 0.245 in the legal position. So that's purely a difference of just having the airflow hitting your chest and your central region a little more rather than being deflected by your hands up in front of you. So not bad, not a big difference there, but certainly worth. I mean, over a 40k time trial, look, I couldn't tell you definitively, but if you wanted a bit of a guess to roughly how much time that might be worth for someone putting out, about 320 watts at 41, 42 kilometers an hour, The difference in that aero drag might cost you on a 40 kilometer time trial might be, 30 seconds. So not huge, not a little bit. That's not based on a calculation. That's just a pure guess from having seen quite a few calculations around this. So that's that. So I did the fastest time of the day, which was about 35:05 moving time. Distance 25.9 kilometer, climbing 58 meters, just a little bit of rolling. Work 700 kilojoules, about 2.5 McDonald's hamburgers consumed. 44.3 kilometer hour average. That's my fastest. And because it's a little bit shorter than the normal 40k TT we do out here, I did bring my power level up just a little. And actually I felt really good, and I think I could have sustained even higher power than the 333 watts that I did for an effective power of 339 watts, heart rate 158 BPM, cadence 92. All exactly where I wanted it to be. Exactly, my target power was 340. And the only reason I couldn't hit that was because we scroll down here. There's a chunk here coming past the school where I got caught behind a truck. And when I looked at the comparison data, it cost me somewhere between about 5 to 6 to 7 seconds or something like that. So it wasn't huge, so I wasn't worried about it. It didn't matter in terms of placing at the end of the day or anything like that. But here's what I'm saying is I had to come off the power for a while there. You can see my power really drops. And there's a period of time there for about 35 seconds where I'm just basically soft pedaling or not even pedaling at all. It's kind of caught behind the truck. Average power 83 watts while I was caught behind the truck. So that dipped my power. So yeah, basically I was bang on target power. That was good. The rotor Q rings I'm now running felt good. Position felt good. A little hack, I'll get to it now. On the, where your elbows rest, on the elbow rests, on bar extensions, my ones were getting pretty old and compressed, like if you compress the foam rubber enough, it kind of stays that way, and was a little uncomfortable. So what I did is I wanted some kind of like thicker ones. I looked around. The best material I found was if you go down to the hardware, you get that foam rubber that is meant to go around, say, like a pipe for insulation. It's about, say, 8 millimeters thick. Comes in a round tube, so I cut it. Maybe a section of tube, say, 10 centimeters long or something. Slit it, opened it up, cleaned it with an alcohol swab so that it didn't have any other crap on it. Got some fresh hook and loop tape, what do they call that, Velcro, and Velcroed it on in place. And it's the perfect kind of consistency for really nice, comfortable elbow pads. I know it sounds like a bit of a bodge, but honestly, it's really nice, comfy, soft, and more importantly, ludicrously cheap. $6 for one of those, one of those pipe things, which is about a meter long. So you can make elbow pads for years out of that for $6. There's a little hack for you. I enjoyed that, and actually, it's not just comfort, because you get the comfort, but the comfort gives you more power as well and stability, because you can relax that part of your body more, open up the blood flow in your arms and your shoulders more. It sounds like a small thing, but really not having to shift around, nice and comfortable there, really does help you maintain your position and your power. Anyway, let's have a look at how the results went for the time trial, and just a little bit of data analysis. I just want to show you something I just went into yesterday for one of my riders, and it was kind of cool to see how little you need to do to make a difference. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So first was me. So what did I do? 35:04 was my official time. Jack Polly is always super strong, always puts out a lot of power, May need a little bit of Aero tweak, but he's good at 35.50, about 45 seconds down on me, winning the senior men. Dave Weaver winning the Master Men 1 in 36.08. Tash Robinson, second in Master Men 2, 36.10, just over a minute behind me. Pete Mora, second Master Men 1, 36.29, so only about 20 seconds behind Dave Weaver. Cam Faint, winning the under-19 men, sixth fastest timer overall, 36.40. You've got to remember these young guys have to use restricted gearing, so there are periods of time probably where they're just going to run out of gears. It's a little bit of a shame because you could probably be capable of a faster time than that. So anyway, that's good results for Masters Club riders at the top of the time trial table. Here's a little comparison data thing I did. If you're looking at the screen, I'll explain it. Here is me. Here's the top 4 times. I think, by the way, Max Newton was second fastest, but I guess he's not included in the results because he's not maybe a Wellington Club member. He's probably not a member of Masters Cycling Club, Masterton, Kapiti, or PMP. But he was about, 20 seconds behind me in his time. Riding a Fixie too, I think, Capital Cycling rider. So here's what I'm saying. Let's compare the first me versus Max versus Dave Weaver versus Pete Moore. All pretty good, pretty similar time trialists. And what do we have here? I'm the black line, if you're looking at it. Max is the pink, Dave's the blue, Pete's the orange. And all of those riders, so I was about 20 seconds to 25 seconds ahead of all those riders till about the first turn. And then I kind of gradually gained time on all of them for the second half. But all the analysis I want to do here is around about this piece here, which is from about, 6 kilometers in till about 12 kilometers. Roughly speaking, all of those 3 riders lose only an average of about 10 seconds, somewhere between 5 and 10 seconds on me. And that's close to a third of the course. So for a third of the course, these guys are neck and neck, or at worst losing, like a couple of seconds per kilometer. And, okay, yes, and then later on, they lose a little bit. But here's the thing. Clearly, as far as I could tell, all of these riders had pretty flat pacing. So here's what I'm saying. They're putting out pretty much the same power the whole time and a flat pacing strategy as I am, pound conditions. So you might say, well, so then there's a question, which is, why, if we're all putting out pretty much the same power for the whole time, okay, you got Aero, well, why is it then that for that chunk, that first third, they're only losing a little bit, and then they lose more later on? Did their power fall away? Well, no, power didn't really fall away. It's only, a half-hour effort, so power shouldn't really fall away that much. So it's all Aero. Well, when I dug into this rider's data, it's showing me the power, even though it was the same, was a lot more stochastic. So I asked why that was. Oh, when the rider was losing time, power delivery was more stochastic. And it wasn't, the average power was still the same. So what was going on is it was more stochastic, it was more spiky, because this rider, from what we can tell, is probably, maybe even subconsciously, not even really aware of it, getting in and out of the saddle, getting onto the, dropping his hands down to the base bar, maybe trying to accelerate up small rises. And when I was doing the hour record, I found that you could quite clearly, when you get out of the saddle, here's what I'm saying, you're like a brick in the wind. You expose all of your chest upright and your arms and everything in it. just hammers your drag. So it does feel good, I'll give you that, to get out of a position. I guess what this boils down to is saying, if you can find a way to suffer, even, I tell you what, man, even if your power does fall a little bit, even if you've got to take 5 or 10 watts just to stay in the position, most things being equal, you'll probably lose less. You'll probably have a faster time by keeping your head straight, your position at the head at the right angle. Of course, your arms on the extensions, of course, maintaining form. As soon as you get up out of the saddle, expose your chest to the wind, you're just a brick and you'll lose a ton of time. And I think, from what we can tell from looking at the data, that's what's going on. That's where you start losing. So if you can avoid it, do. I mean, I know that's easier said than done. Here's a move. What I'll do is I'll take a video recording laterally of myself in position and try to get a gauge of where my head angle is at its most efficient with the helmet on as it relates to the shape of the helmet feeding onto your back, and try to sort of dial that most efficient position into your head. Know what it feels like, maybe know where your eyes line up on your hands, know where you'll be looking on the road, so that you can naturally drill that. And I do some TT drills every week. So if I'm riding down the road in a TT, here is where I want my head to be. I know that because I've looked at the video, and I'm going to stick in that position, and it's going to hurt. And you try to futz with your position and do testing to get the least hurty, most efficient position for, aero drag and power as a whole. But part of time trialing is suffering in that position. And I think what I saw from this data is that it shows that if you can do that, it'll really improve things, and the big chunk it takes out of you when you lose form. And I'm guilty of this too. So try to remember and drill the position of your body, the position of your hands, and the position of your helmet and head in its most efficient aero position based on that video footage. We're talking about small gains. Should we just look here? I mean, here's a little quick and dirty, semi-quick and dirty little reckoner. This is on gribble.org, the computational cyclist. A little chart here where you can input weights of your rider and your bike, estimates for drive train loss, rolling resistance, air density and stuff like that, and then mess around with a slider for power versus speed based on an estimated drag, and you can, of course, from that work backwards and figure out your drag. That's a useful thing to do when you're looking at data like this. And here's something on cyclingtips.com, which is something a million people have looked at, a picture of dirty old Lance. But it's quite an interesting little chart where you can scroll down here and see kind of roughly in terms of time in a 40k TT what different things are worth and the bang for the buck. Skin suit's worth about, it says here 134 seconds. I guess that's compared to the standard top and bibs. 134 seconds, so over 2 minutes. Seems like a lot to me, but in terms of bang for your buck, it's $1.86 per second shaved. Aero bars worth just on 2 minutes, $1.64 per second shaved. So the helmet, not as much as you'd think. 67 seconds, so just over a minute. The front wheel, so changing from a regular spoke wheel to a deep, I guess you're talking about something like a Zip 404 or 808, 42 seconds. Shoe covers, 30 seconds. That rear wheel, a full disc versus a 3-spoke, 29 seconds. the frame worth only 17 seconds going from Aero tubes from round tubes to Aero tubes. And I don't know, just an interesting little analysis of the marginal gains you can get from the little chart on cyclingtips.com. So that's what I say. The road race was a total non-event because entries were so few. It was a little bit disappointing. I don't really know why. I suspect the advertising for the race wasn't that great. Organisation was just fine, but very few riders turning up. Really just 3 of us in the Master 1 to 3. So it's just, at that point, there's no really any tactics. I mean, it's not even really worth talking about. Just over 3 hours, 112 Ks. We're at 2,714 kilojoules. I don't know, 8 to 10 McDonald's hamburgers, 37.2 kilometers an hour. We averaged 249 watts for an effective power to 294 watts. Heart rate low, cadence. I mean, it was just, if you want a description of what happened, it's pretty simple. Me, Richard Van Lent, and Matt Frecklington did some weird version of a 3-up time trial for most of it before me and Matt put the hammer down on him on some rollers just out of Masterton. Rode away, did a 2-up time trial. During this series of events, it was really cold weather. I mean, if I look at the temperature here, averaging somewhere between 5, getting up to maybe 12 degrees, super cold day. And I think what happens is it can sort of like make you want to wee more. Anyway, here's what I'm saying. So I really need to stop for a wee. I said to the guys, do you mind if I stop and catch up? And they went a little bit soft, let me catch back on. And that is really nice thing to do. I mean, it's the right thing to do, I suppose. No, it has to. It is a bike race, sort of, even though it didn't really work out like that. And, Richard and Matt and the New Caledonian guy, I appreciate you doing that. There's sportsmanship. I always figure like, it's the right thing to do, in cycling. Always, I don't know, if you can, be gracious or good, because that might come back to you later on. It might get repaid back to you. That's what I'm saying. And on that note, Matt and I didn't really fight it out. It's been a nice time trial. Matt crossing the line first, and me coming in second. So I won the Master 2 race. He won the Master 1 race. Let's look around the results. So our race was boring, but not all the races were boring. If we look at the results here, so the 115k course, Dan Walashewski in the senior men had the fastest time, winning the senior from Matt Wood-Smith and Luke McDermott. As I say, in Master 1 through 3, Matt Frecklington taking Master 1, me taking Master 2, Boston Bright running under 19. Actually, the truth is, guys, numbers were so small, it's kind of irrelevant. But this picture of me and Matt on the start line, super gay lovers. Here is the probably the race of the day, I think, was Stephen O'Keefe taking the win, Mastermen 5, from what was a pretty good field, probably the only decent field. Ian Payton, Mike Sim, Wayne McDermott, Steve Orchard, then Tim Renner, 6th fastest there, winning the Mastermen 4. Steve O'Keefe, one of my riders, and I won't tell you, I've had a discussion with him, I won't really tell you the details of how he did it. It's a little bit, I don't know, just technical, and something we had talked about before the race. Here's a bleak way of saying it. Listen and think about your tactics before the race, and listen to what people are saying and doing. Pay attention, and that's sometimes how you can win. I mean, on a little on a small level, I've seen guys attack me when I'm having near the back of the bunch or having a drink. That's not what happened in this case. I'm not talking about Steve's race. But I'm always amazed that guys turn out to races and they're not really sure what they're doing the whole time. They're not really sure why they're riding on the front, for how long, what they're doing. Always in a bike race, be able to ask yourself a question. What am I doing? And why am I doing it? Almost every race that applies to. What am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I positioned here? What is my tactic? What is my plan? What is the card I'm going to play? What am I doing to do? And I don't care if you're the weakest rider or the strongest rider in that bunch. Those rules still apply. Because after all, really, if you're not one of the strongest riders, do you really want to have a scenario where all you're doing is just holding onto the bunch and then finishing in the bunch somewhere and you haven't really achieved anything? Bike racing is about, trying to play out a strategy. Anyway, Stephen O'Keefe, congratulations. Centre, Master 5 champ, doing that. Getting it done, doing the job. All right, so one more little tech interesting thing. There's not really any data to put with this that I can show you, but I'll tell you what it was. On the flat or rolling courses like this, especially with very little wind, I've switched up from using a Zip 404 wheel set to the Zip 808, which are deeper section by about, your Zip 808 is probably like, I don't know, is it 8 centimeters? I don't think the 808 actually means that. I don't know, I'm going to say it's about 10 centimeters deep, versus the 404 is about half or three quarters of that. Here's what I'm saying, it's a handful in the wind, but I noticed I could be riding in what was effectively a breakaway. It wasn't a breakaway, but I was riding with three guys, taking turns. A medium-sized rider like Matt Frecklington could be sitting there on the front, on a flat section, no real tailwind or headwind, putting out, say, 300 watts, give or take, on the front taking a turn. There were periods of time, not all the time, but periods of up to like 10, 20 seconds, where I could just get in an aero tuck behind him, get quite nice and low, right into the slipstream, and it felt like the wheels had such good inertia and probably aero drag with that yaw effect that I didn't even have to pedal. I just almost sucked along behind him like like you get behind a truck or something like that. And I think there's two things going on. I think there is a little bit of that drafting effect, of course, but I think on the 808s especially, they do have the ability to provide negative drag or lift at certain yaw angles and speeds, meaning they don't have, less drag than other wheels. They have negative drag. They're effectively pushing you a little bit, just a little bit. So if you're in a position where you've got maybe a rider behind you, because that's going to reduce your drag as well. Maybe you've got a rider in front of you, pushing along. Maybe you've got it's just a little downward. Maybe the road angle's a little down, and you have the wind conditions right. On a big wheel set like that, you're getting rest periods where you're not even pedaling 10, 20 seconds, and sprinkled throughout the race. That's, that might add up to 2 or 3 minutes across a period of a race where you're not even pedaling. That's so much recovery, so much chance for you to recover, so much energy saving, it's not even funny. And I think that's, people often talk about, okay, well, this wheel set or that wheel set has this much less drag and this much yaw. I don't think it's always about that. Those periods of entire rest are where it's at. And I haven't noticed that as much with the smaller section wheel sets. Give it a try if you can. It doesn't work in all conditions, but it's a lot of rest and recovery. I didn't need it in the race yesterday. It wasn't important, but it was interesting to test. And if you're in a big race, that could be useful. So Zip 808. I always feel like there's Zip guys and there's Envy guys. And I've always kind of been a zip guy. I like the stiffness of them, and they've been really reliable for me. But I understand the NVs in general are even better, but even more expensive. So anyway, that's one little thing about the wheels. All right, that's all I'll say. So next, nothing really happening on this calendar this weekend, which is interesting. So basically for this week and next week, all I'm doing is recovering, doing very specific time trial drills. All of my time trialist riders have very specific drills to do to make sure they are as comfortable and familiar with target position, target power as possible ahead of the big dog national age group champs in Timaru 2 weeks' time. I'll be competing both the time trial and the road race. Road race I'd like to do well. Time trial I'd like to do really well. I would like to podium, but you know, it's another level, so I will try. I have stalked a lot of data, and I should potentially be capable of that. But of course things can go wrong. Of course you can have a bad day. I try to avoid that. That's what I'm trying for. There'll be a lot of riders coming from the club and from Wellington coming down there. All of the start details, or the entries are up on the Cycling New Zealand website. Check it out. Make sure you take your club kit, like I forgot yesterday, and make sure you bring your Cycling New Zealand license. I'm just going to be drilling time trial drills. That's me. I have recently received a new shipment of cramp fix and tailwind from 022 Sports. Here's what I'm saying. Come and see me if you'd like a sample. If you get tested by me, if you do blood lactate testing, you book in with me, I will give you a FitLab bottle containing samples of Biomax the lubricant, cramp fix, tailwind, nutrition, fluid replacement. Come and see me. I will give you that. Test with me, I'll give you that. You can try it out. You can use my discount codes at the bottom of this video on my blog, Steve Bales, cycling blog, Fast54, my YouTube channel, Fast54, follow me on Twitter, like, share, and subscribe. Support Capital Cycles, FitLab, Television, Biomaxa. Alright, that's the plugs. As always, get it on, and I will see you on the weekend.